Hey, I'm Nathan Wakeford. Welcome to Sovereign Rising. And in these long format videos, I'm going to be sharing with you some topics on masculinity that will really help you in the optimization of your identity. You see, what I've come to understand through my own personal growth and evolution is that masculinity is something that needs to be developed as a concerted effort. See, in the times gone by, we had rites of passage where there were formal decisions and events in a boy's life in transitioning him into manhood. And really what's been missing in society is a modern day rite of passage. So what I've been working on is really how do we craft the development of exceptional men with all the technology, all the awareness, all the consciousness that we have today. See, there are forces within the environment that are really working counter towards the development of masculinity. Things in our environment that diminish testosterone, media influences, and what have you. So they're more than ever, there's needed a clear strategy and process that men can follow to develop themselves into becoming extraordinary men. And so today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the fundamental elements, I think, of developing a man's identity. And it's a phrase that I've coined to oversee this topic, and that's essentially masculine identity optimization. And it incorporates so many different aspects of a man's progression into manhood. His physicality, developing a strong physical presence, the ability to protect, his ability to create wealth and provide, his leadership abilities, his emotional resilience, and his ability to relate to the feminine in a way that creates polarity. And that also relates to his sexual frame. And there's also the mental frame. So how a man is able to develop his focus, his attention on what is important and what moves the needle in the important areas of his life, such that he has clarity and consistency in creating right effort towards his desired outcomes. And finally, we have the spiritual frame, which enables a man to have a deep sense of meaning and significance in his life in connection with divine expression. So today's topic is about identity optimization. And I stumbled across this, actually. I stumbled across this whole area in a very painful time of my life after my mum had passed away. And a friend of mine reached out to me. We did a mastermind group with Eben Pagan, and that's called Wake Up Productive. And it really showed me the power of a mastermind and also working in collaboration with other men to really focus on their own personal growth and evolution. And through a series of events just recently, this concept very much came back into my life. The idea of creating a brotherhood or surrounding yourself with men on a very similar trajectory in life path, where they have a diligent focus to enhancing every single aspect of their life. What I witnessed was that I was in a moment of pain. I'd find myself, after having significant financial success, in a position where I was very cash flow poor. I'd still have my assets. I'd just come off the back of two breakups, one with a woman I was engaged to, then another relationship immediately after. And I was in a place where I found myself very isolated and a sense of feeling alone. And what brought me out of that, and what I'm now sharing with you, was a reclamation of my own self-respect through disciplined self-care and self-love, and building the fundamentals of my masculine identity. So specifically those elements that I now call the masculine frame. And that's really having an internal frame of reference such that the outer world reflections don't determine or dictate how you behave or feel. That you choose, that you're the highest authority in your life under God, and you choose how you respond to things. You choose what you give your energy to and what is most aligned with you and your desired outcomes. So there's this path now that I'm understanding, this modern day rite of passage that is framed around this concept that I described earlier of men are made. And so if that were the case, and I was in a position, maybe I've just come out of a recent breakup, maybe I find myself in a position of financial hardship, what I've come to understand is the outer world reflects the inner world landscape of the mind. Now, Hermetic philosophy says that all is mind, and it borrows some different ideas. And what I'm going to be sharing with you borrows ideas from numerous different mystery schools as well. And the concept of it is really this: you can't change the outer world. You can only really ever change yourself. But when you change yourself, you change your perception. And when how you see the world changes, the world that you see changes in response. See, a lot of men that I find, for instance, in a position of a relationship breakup, immediately start blaming the women that they've gone through this painful separation with. Or if they're experiencing final hardship, they go to a place of, blaming their business partner or any external reflection. And ultimately, that's a really disempowering perspective to take, because it moves you into the victim and out of the ability to make influence in your own life. Once you take full responsibility for your life circumstances, and once you understand the game of life and how to play it, and you stop hating the game, but understanding you just simply need to improve your skill set, then it then becomes, well, how do I optimize my strategy for success in this game? And this is where there is so much different aspects which can really contribute to a man's growth and evolution. And a lot of it has to do with who you surround yourself with. See, when you start to surround yourself with extraordinary men, they have a different energy about them. They have a different level of focus, a different level of commitment, and they begin to recognize that the more that they invest in themselves, in their mindset, in their perception, in their resilience, in their resourcefulness, the more they start to become an empowered factor in the creation of their reality. They start to create life with intention. So if you find yourself disheartened, disgruntled, in a place of victimhood, then the reality is, until you become stronger, until you become bigger than the challenges that you've created for yourself, your suffering is likely to perpetuate. So the invitation really, and this is for your own salvation, is to start really considering, what is your current focus? Where are you focused? Is it on the outcomes that you desire? Or is it focused on the pain of the past? And so much of your position of power will come from intentional creation in the present moment. And so really the strategy to go down the path of intentional life creation, of becoming the inner authority in your reality, of having an internal frame of reference, of developing a masculine frame, begins with this: a decision. So if there's one thing at the end of this entire video, is simply to make the decision that you will start to direct your life intentionally. You'll start to become the authority in your life, and you'll start to develop yourself from within to build up your own reservoirs of self-respect and self-love. And you do that firstly with the awareness of where you haven't been doing that, but then to have a very clear awareness of who you wish to create yourself as. Now, this is one of the most fundamental elements of everything I'm about to share with you. You make a decision of the type of man that you're going to craft yourself to become. And just like Michelangelo chips away the stone to reveal the beauty of the sculpture within, this is what you'll be for yourself. Now, I know that I'm talking in slightly abstract terms, but I'm going to land the plane for you, and I'm going to get you very, very specific and focused. Choose an area that would make the biggest difference for you, that you're going to begin working on, to become the man in that specific area. So just say it's your physicality, and I'll speak to this because around 4 months ago, I weighed 102 kilograms, I was lacking energy, I had consistent injuries, and my motivation was waning. And I then made that a diligent focus in my life. I started to research numerous different aspects of developing myself physically. Now, core to that was enhancing my testosterone levels. I'm a 46-year-old man, and I can honestly say I'm getting younger month to month right now. Now, what that process meant for me was, once I started to really research testosterone optimization, and you notice that testosterone optimization fits neatly in this masculine identity optimization, in the physical component of it, I then recognize certain fundamental awarenesses. For instance, that testosterone is a hormone, a steroidal hormone that's responsible for muscular regeneration, but it's also responsible for instructing bone marrow to increase your red blood cells and hemoglobin, which then carries oxygen throughout the body. So for me, once I started these testosterone optimization strategies, I noticed an immediate change within a matter of about a month to 6 weeks. I went from doing 30 push-ups to 50 to then to 70. I've gone from like 6 to 8 pull-ups to doing 17. I went from cortisol producing style exercises that were making me feel continuously depleted of energy and accumulating injuries to then doing high intensity interval training that restored my energy, increased my testosterone levels, and gave me the muscular development that I was seeking. And so often it's only small changes that can make significant differences in a specific area. Once you really narrow in and find someone who's achieving the outcomes that you desire. And that's why it's so important to be surrounded by men that are expressing themselves in ways that you wish to become. And so your network will have a huge bearing as a man on who you're becoming. So choose wisely in that regard. So once I developed my physical optimization program, I went from high intensity interval training to developing my physical core, my cardiovascular fitness. I then started to get into resistance training. My strength went through the roof in a very short period of time. I didn't realize how important at the time, this is going to sound like a very strange statement, until I got ripped, until I lost 13 kilograms in 4 months, which is, times that by 2.2, what's that, about 27 pounds in 4 months. I realized I'd been tolerating a suboptimal experience the whole time. And this is a very important point. So many men tolerate, simply because of lack of information, lack of will, lack of commitment, suboptimal experiences in their life. And you can imagine then, if you've reached the outer limits of an identity, what you're going to need to do is to shift into an unknown, shift into a new identity, where now my new identity is one that I'm very focused on my well-being, my physical fitness, my strength, my ability to fight. I took up boxing. And now I'm experiencing a completely different reflection because I'm attracting more of the feminine attention because I'm now ripped. You can see some of my pictures in Instagram compared to what I was certainly when I was 13 kilograms heavier. And so once I went through that path of developing myself physically, I recognized how much my mentality had shifted. You know, I started to get up out of bed. I used to get out of bed 6:30, 7 o'clock. Now I'm getting out of bed at 4:45 a.m. I'm now doing daily breath work, daily meditation. You'll see a lot of these elements I've included in some programs that I've now created, one of them being the 5-day masculinity challenge, because I saw how fundamental and pivotal that was as a break state, as a pattern interrupt to my previous conditions, which were tethered to an identity that was limiting to me. So what I'm saying is the identity shift is progressive when you start to doing activities more aligned with the identity that's creating the desired outcome, but you can accelerate that process when you do it with deliberate intent. So now I'm like, well, what other areas can I optimize in my life? So after I started to improve my physicality, I went out and I started buying new clothes. I started to dress in fabrics, for instance, like linen, that are high frequency fabrics. I got rid of all my plastic underwear as part of the testosterone optimization direction. I replaced them with cotton. I started to hold myself, instead of casual attire, into more polished attire. And I now realize that that begins to shape your identity. How you dress is a core component of that. Another one is looks maxing. Now, if you might have heard of mewing and this whole area of looks maxing and optimizing your physical appearance. Well, the reality is women can evaluate you on your level of attractiveness, on your magnetism. There's numerous ways you can enhance and improve that as well. One of them is your sexual polarity. One of them is your masculine frame and how easily they control you or not, and how dominant you are in your leadership of them. And so there's another aspect of becoming a dominant man and attracting a reflection of a beautiful woman comes from your perception of self, your level of self-respect and self-esteem and self-love. Because again, this can be an optimized process, is the energetic polarity that you're able to cultivate within yourself. So I mentioned before that I was doing breath work. I did that gesture because I do fire breath to cultivate my polarity energetically. And I do the microcosmic orbit, which is a breath work and energy transmutation from a guy that's I learned from Mantak Chia and reading some of his books like The Multi-Orgasmic Man. I'm sharing with you because these are all underneath the surface. A lot of people think that who they're born as is who they are. And what I'm here to really emphasize is, no, it's not. It's who you choose to be and who you choose to create yourself. And if you had that choice, why wouldn't you choose someone who has such optimal benefits and leverage in life that they can create life with an unfair advantage to be stacked in the favor of the highest well-being in divine right alignment? All right. So there's another aspect here in the physicality, which is when you start to become consistent and disciplined, when you start to see the results that you can obtain, for instance, in a physical domain, you'll start to apply those to other areas of your life. So you'll start to see that the previous restrictions, and this is one final element about your identity, so much of it is tethered to who you were as a child, who society, your parents, and your life indoctrinated you to believe who you were. And there's a subconscious reprogramming component to all of this to start shifting your attachment to your old identity and the beliefs and value systems that tether you to that identity, that's a disempowering and limiting identity, to you start to choosing new values, starting to choose new outcomes, new beliefs that invite this, let's call it the higher performing, the extraordinary performing identity that you can then become. So there's both the subconscious realignment with this new identity. There's the practical implementation, how you dress, your exercise, who you surround yourself with, your haircut, even your name is a way that you can shift your identity. And that once you intentionalize that, then you'll start to see dramatic changes in very profound ways. So at the end of this video, if you've listened and are intrigued, I'm giving a high-level overview. What I'm inviting you to do is to put some thought into who you wish to become. And if you want to be surrounded by men who have asked that same question and now are diligently applying themselves to become extraordinary men, framed men, who intentionally create their life with the inner authority and the power that they unlock and unleash within themselves, then I encourage you, I'm going to post some things in the captions and comments below about how you can join this Sovereign Rising community and the different programs we have, from the 5-day challenge to Sovereign Power to Sovereign Rising, that will map out for you a very specific strategy and process to crafting yourself into an extraordinary man. And so this is an invitation to you right now. If this is the first time you've seen my content, go check me out, Sovereign Wealth, on Instagram. You'll see what we're about and what the community of men is about. And I truly believe that when we start to shape ourselves as extraordinary men, we'll bring a higher level of order to the chaos that is a result of the devolution of society and men, unframed men falling into feminine authority, and the damage that's causing to families, communities, and men's esteem and self-love. So wherever you are on this journey, if a part of what I'm sharing with you resonates with you, this is your call. So follow the captions below and you'll see that what we have is coming from a very beautiful place for your empowerment, because this is my life legacy. I'm inviting you to join the journey with me. Look forward to seeing you on the inside of the Sovereign Rising community. See you there soon.